The guy at the title company turns to my client, the buyer, and says, hey, so what do you do for work? Well, what he did for work was really stressful. Like, he'd been doing it for 5 years, and it's like handling complaints for a big company all day, every day. And I'm like, oh, that sounds like it's terrible. Yeah. And you want to know what came out of his mouth? It was, but 10 more years of this, and then I'll get my 401k, pension, whatever, like, I'll be set. And I literally just, like, rocked out of my chair. I was like, 10 more years, working, probably making maybe $60,000 to $80,000 a year. I look back at my last 5.5 years, and I'm like, that's how people think. I forget.
Hey guys, this episode is brought to you by Weapon X Holsters, quality handmade Kydex holsters made right here in Southern Utah. You can stop by the store, 1397 West Sunset Boulevard, number 115 in St. George, Utah. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Derick Leg Podcast. We're in the vault today with local real estate mogul, guru, king of real estate. I don't know how they refer to you, man. This is Eric Gubler. How's it going, man?
Good, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah,
I'm excited to jam today.
So am I. It's funny because we actually, we didn't meet. The first time we had talked is when I opened the safe store, and I believe I reached out straight to you to start moving safes for us. Mm-hmm. But we had never met. And I was like, hey, I've got the safe store now, just looking for someone to deliver them. I didn't have the tools. I didn't have the time or really the want to deliver safes back then. And
I don't blame you for not having the want, for sure.
Yeah, well, we do now. We deliver everything ourselves now. But yeah, so I reached out to you, and then I started hearing your name, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's that kangaroo moving guy that I've been texting. And then you got into the real estate game, or maybe you were in it before. I don't know.
I think I had my license, yeah.
Yeah. Yep. And then my brother's at Red Rock. Mm-hmm. And then when you joined Red Rock, I'm like, that's him. This is the kangaroo guy. Yeah. And then I was interested in being on Jefferson Rogers' podcast, and I was super nervous. And so I asked him, like, hey, could I just come sit in on one? And it happened to be the one that you were on with him. So we actually officially met then.
Yep. And we had like 1 million connections that day. Like, holy cow. Yeah.
Yeah. Like one of your really good friends was staying with us at our house. And it was kind of funny. We had never face to face, but we interacted a lot.
Yep.
Anyway, we've got a whole list of things to run through. I'm kind of on a time crunch today. I've got about a solid hour. So let's just dive into it, man. You've got a ton of topics that I think both of us could expand on. Let's just run through what I want to start with is let's start with like your achievements.
Okay.
And where you're at now and what you're looking forward to, because they're huge.
Yeah.
And then I want to backtrack to how you got there and some of the struggles, lessons, all of that to get there.
Yeah.
So if we can start there, maybe with the storage thing, is that kind of the biggest thing you have going right now?
That's definitely the biggest project that I have going on right now, for sure. So yeah, things that we have going on right now, we have a moving company that services local and long distance, mostly residential stuff, but we do a little bit of commercial. I don't really do anything. I built that from the ground up, and that's just passive for me. I have a storage facility that's being built right now that'll be done by the end of this year, and that will have 300 units, and it's turning out really, really good, both financially and then just like the logistics of getting it done has been really awesome. So not without problems, but the problems, I mean, it's just part of it, right?
Sure.
And they're really like molehills, not mountains. We were building another house. So I set a goal last November for this year. And I was like, hey, I'm going to get into my $1 million house this year. This is the year the opportunity presented itself. And it was like, we literally made the decision like that day because we'd already planned it. So we're building our $1 million house. Right now we have a little jet ski rental company that just is kind of passive as well.
What's that called?
Jet Ski STG.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So you can just rent our jet skis, and we use them for our fun. It's kind of a passive thing. Kind of got into the crypto game a little bit. And so, yeah, literally just like serial entrepreneur, anything. My end goal is always, okay, how do we make money to where we can turn it into cash flow? And the main hub right now for cash flow is that storage facility. There's crazy cash flow there. So that's kind of what I have going on, honestly. Those are kind of the successes that we have in a nutshell.
I love how you're at the point in your life when you talk about that stuff, it's not like this huge thing to you. Like, I feel like it's becoming normal for you, right? Yeah. Like any normal person that would think about taking on all those things, it would just be this huge, unattainable project. Would you? I mean, you'd agree, right?
Yeah. No,
but I love how you just nonchalant you talk about it, man. But that's part of it. That's part of the journey of getting through the things that you've been through. Yeah. So that's kind of where I want to backtrack to. And I don't know how far you want to go back. But the main point would be like, guys, looking at Eric, he's accomplished tons of things. You're going to accomplish 10x of what you've done already, but everyone's got to start somewhere, and everyone goes through things, and I've been through stuff and you've been through stuff. So I want to touch on that because I know you'll be vulnerable with us and be honest. And, so yeah, dude, I'd just say, take it away on where you feel like
I'd love to. Like, I've never done this on a podcast before where I've gotten super, super vulnerable with my upbringing, but I'd love to, actually, in a way. So I grew up, homeschooled. So here in Santa Clara, in southern Utah, I grew up and I was homeschooled, and there's two different types of homeschoolers in my mind, being a homeschooler. There's the homeschooler that went to school and couldn't hack it, and they got beat up or ridiculed, or people just made fun of them.
Yeah.
And then there's the homeschooler that was like me, that didn't have a choice. Like, their parents were just like, hey, we're doing this. Like, you're not weird or anything, but you're doing it. The problem is, for me, one of my hurdles in life, a huge hurdle for me, was when you're a homeschooler, especially, I mean, now it's not as bad, but back then I'd have people at the store come up to me and my brother all the time, and they would be like, why aren't you guys in school? Like, we would separate from my mom to go look at toys, and these older people or young moms or whatever would come up to us and like glare at us and be like, they would literally ask us at like 8, 9, 10 years old, why are you not in school? And like, as a kid, I was like, oh my gosh, like, the world hates me. They hate me because I'm a homeschooler. Like, there was a lot of like anxiety and tension there. Then as you get older, you see your friends like excelling in things that you've never learned about because your parents can't teach you about higher math, higher this, higher that. And so you're like, oh, I'm dumb. Like, I remember thinking in my mind back then, like, I'm stupid because of how I was raised. My mom's whole idea was good. Like, it was protect you from the world. But at the same time, like, you still live in the world, right? So I had to break out of that. Like, that was probably the biggest challenge that I had when I was young, is that that box of that everybody else is trying to put you in that box of, you're a homeschooler, you're weird,
right?
You're not as smart as other kids. You're just going to be an introvert your whole life.
Socially awkward.
You're going to be yeah, right? Like, we all talk about it. I've had people say now, like, you're the only normal homeschooler that I know, right? And I like take that as like a badge of honor because I worked so freaking hard at it. I got into sports, and I had to push myself to learn. Like, I remember when I was 12 years old, I read Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People at 12.
Wow.
Because I was like, I am going to figure this out.
Yeah.
I'm going to figure out how to talk to people and how to have friends and how to not be socially awkward.
Where everyone else is kind of being exposed to that at school.
Yeah. I had to work way harder at it because I wasn't. And it wasn't my choice. But there's a principle there, right? Life is going to throw things at you that are out of your control. I didn't have a car. I couldn't go sign myself up for school. My parents had to sign off on it. But what I could control was my education and pushing past that, right? I found a way to not be socially awkward. Okay, the sports and the reading and just like working on it, right, in my mindset. I don't know why I had that at an early age, but I just did, right?
So it's interesting that you recognized it, you're self-aware enough, and then you sought out the information to correct it.
Yeah.
Or correct, I don't know if correct it's the right word, but to change it.
Yeah, correct. Dude, I think it's the right word. Yep.
I didn't know that. I didn't know you were homeschooled.
Most people didn't. Guessed, I don't like to say it, right? There's like baggage in the background. Like, I don't want people to know.
I mean, I think it's cool. I think it's cool. And if it is something that's looked at negative, you've conquered it.
Right. In my mind, yeah. For sure.
And then how long have you been married?
So we've been married now 5.5 years, coming up on 6.
And you have a couple kids?
2 kids, 1 on the way. We haven't announced that on social media or anything, so maybe this is like the first, like, hey, we're pregnant,
Say
right?
we can cut it if you want.
That's fine. No, we're good. Yep.
Man, 3 kids. Dude, I've got an 18-month, and I talk about it all the time on here, and I'm like, I just don't know why anybody would have 2 kids. Like, it's just so hard. It's not that the kid's awful. It's just so hard.
Yeah.
But does your wife work?
No, she stay at home with the kids, which is awesome.
Oh, that's great that you can do what you're doing to provide that for your kids, and if that's what she wants to do, right?
Yeah.
But to have your kids have that at home.
And not to get way off track, but I feel like it's a natural insert right here is like one of our mindsets, and I want people to hear this, right? Like, I think there's a traditional 9 to 5, which I don't like 9 to 5. I'm an entrepreneur, right? It's actually like 24/7.
Right.
Okay.
You think you're going to work less and control your schedule. And
if you want to do it right, you're working all the time. But having that be the lifestyle that then bleeds over into my wife's involved, my kids are involved. I know people that they're super, super big on that. They've created businesses where their whole family is involved, and that's where we're headed. That's one of my big goals right now, and we've already started working on it this past year, and we feel it going in that direction. One of the great things about being an entrepreneur is you can literally take anything in your life and say, I want that, and go work at it, and you know how to do it. You create it. And what we're trying to create right now is that family bond of where, like, what's the best education for kids is for them to be in there with their parents growing a business, learning how to actually make money instead of going to school, because I've done both, right? I've been to school and homeschooled.
You can talk on it.
I've seen both. And the best learning that I ever had was with my parents, them showing me how to do stuff. I may not have been the smartest when I was younger at math or whatever. I learned that in college. But just as a little plug, I think as a society, if we thought more of how can I get my family involved, entrepreneurs would have less divorces, less problems with their family, more fulfillment, because family is part of that. That's why we're doing it. That's why we're making money. So I just wanted to share that there.
Yeah, that's awesome. Right before we started, we were kind of talking, and you had mentioned not just wealth, but generational wealth. And so I think that just like when you said that, I thought, yeah, I kind of do what I do. So William, my son, has the option if he wants to step in and continue to run what I've built. And if he doesn't want to, dude, knock yourself out, go do what you want to do. But I never had that, I had to start everything like you. We started everything from scratch. And I was building holsters in my basement for 5 years, and so that's something that's always been important to me. And so I like that you're talking about keeping the family involved. And I have like this small fear of I'm going to drag Will with me everywhere. And I've even thought about not putting him in school and have him just roll with me every day. And we'll still teach him the schoolwork stuff when we're at home, but then he can just work with me every day. But then I'm like, well, I don't want that resentment of him being like, man, all I do is go to work with Dad every day, and it's work. Like, we're not hanging out. Yeah. And so I'm still trying to figure out how I'm going to balance that when he gets a little older. And my belief, if the school system keeps going the way it is, I think regardless, I'll probably pull him out of school. Yeah. I don't know if I'll have him in public school anyway. Yeah. But that might be another topic for another day.
Yeah,
but
I know it's a big one, but I love it, dude. Just thinking out of the box.
Yeah. So how do you go from kangaroo moving to kangaroo storage? And then I know it's like we had said before we jumped on, it's a huge step. So how do you go from talking about it to doing it? And Mallory and I talk about this a lot. When you talk to business owners and someone's trying to start a business and they want advice from the business owner, it's usually the advice you get is you just got to start. You just got to start. Yeah. And on the business owner side of it, like I talk to a lot of people. I feel like I can speak on this. It's because there's so many people that talk about it. And so it's like, hey man, start it, get the gears going, maybe get some skin in the game, maybe invest a little bit. Yeah. And then come and talk to me. And then I can help you maybe dodge some potholes. Yeah. But like your ideas, like I get thrown ideas every day. I want you to actually start moving. So how do you do that? Because you're a boots on the ground, moving forward, pushing forward kind of guy. So how do you get into that storage part where's the money come from, buying the land, knowing where to buy the land, and how did that process happen?
Yeah, well, I think there's a certain amount of pain associated with anything you want to accomplish. You want a six-pack, there's a certain amount of pain that it takes to get there, right?
I imagine. I've never had a six-pack.
Yeah. But if you want to accomplish anything in this world that's big or a dream, it comes with habits, but it also comes with pain. And so I think a lot of people don't think that getting into it. And what happens is they start going down that path of talking about it and maybe just dabbling in it just a little bit. And then the pain comes. Mm-hmm. They're like, wait a minute. I'm just looking at his life, and his life is like awesome. He's got money. He's got this and that and the boat and the truck and the house and whatever. And I'm not getting any of that. All I'm getting is pain.
Right.
Well, what you don't realize is pain is part of it. And I think people would see it differently if they thought about the pain before. Okay, be ready for it. Embrace it. That's what I do now. And I don't know if I really did that back then. I think I just dealt with the pain. But now I realize that concept that, look, I've been through it. I know that there's pain associated with accomplishing your goals. So do things painful on purpose. I work out every morning because it's painful, and I get used to that pain, right? When I go and polar plunge in a cold ice bath, it's painful. I don't want to do it, but I do it, and I've gotten faster at just jumping in because I want to get that habit of being okay with pain. So first and foremost, your mindset is number one, and those are a few little golden nuggets. If people followed, it would help them on that path. The actual logistics of it, man, we started really small. We got married, and I didn't have a job really. I was working part-time in the hospital thinking I was going to be a physical therapist.
Okay.
I realized that wasn't going to work for me, and I didn't want to be capped in an income. And so I dropped out of school, almost done with my bachelor's, and I dropped out, and I was like, went to my wife and was like, hey, you okay if I do a couple of these ideas, like moving company, real estate, things like that. And we kind of got together and made a 5-year plan of moving company, real estate, storage units, right? She's like, let's do it. So we actually were in debt at the time on paper, and we started by, she was working full-time. We didn't have any kids. I would go on Craigslist and find couches, mattresses, chairs, anything with value that people were just giving away for free. So I had no risk. I literally would just go pick it up, and then if I could flip it sometimes I'd flip things for $500. Sometimes it was $20. Sometimes it was $100, somewhere in the middle. And I would just, I literally had no risk by picking that up other than my gas to get there, which wasn't as bad as it is today. Yeah. But that was it. And so I borrowed my grandpa's truck because I didn't own a truck. And I would go pick it up, and we started rolling $3,000 a month. Dang. Just on that. And we're like, hey, there's something here. With that money, we started, we bought logos for a moving company and LLC, got that rolling, all the logistics. I didn't know how to do it. I wasn't a business major. I just tried.
I mean, did you just Google it and figure it out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And talking to people.
I would say I had my brother Adam that helped me with a lot of that back end stuff. So I always have to give Adam props about where I'm at in life. So
yeah, for sure. Because that's protecting yourself and making sure you have it set up right is a scary thing getting started because you don't know.
Sure. But you don't know anything until you know it. So that's the fear of people getting into it. And so it's we'll figure it out, And so anyway, I don't want to derail you here. So.
No, you're good. So we started because I just got out of college. I still had buddies in college that were on the football team, soccer team, baseball team, and so athletes that I would just go to my buddies and be like, hey, can I pay you $20 an hour to come help me move? We charge people $45 an hour. I would be there helping and setting it up and on every move, and it was exhausting. Grinding, grueling, back-breaking work every day. But in our first year, we made over $100K net. And I was like, holy cow, this works, right? And so then from there, it wasn't hey, how can I go buy this nice car? How can I go buy this liability? But how can we roll this into the next step, which was real estate, and now I move people for free. So I leverage my moving company. Go ahead.
So where does that come from, though? Did you have anyone in your life that was doing, 6 figures, that was wealthy? You know what I mean?
No.
So where did that come from? Because I feel like what you're exposed to when you're younger plays a big role in that. And I was never exposed to that when I was young. I mean, my parents actually made six figures, but you would never guess that. They were all, paycheck to paycheck and debt all the time, a lot because of things my dad would get into. But it was never a thought. I mean, I always thought, dude, six figures. I think that's our generation too, but like six figures, I'm set.
Yeah.
I'm big house, boat, vacations, six figures. So you didn't have any examples like that when you were getting into it though.
My mom was really frugal and my dad was too. They're both very, very frugal. My dad, however, was like a Robert Kiyosaki guy.
Okay.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad. He handed me that book when I was just a kid, like probably 10, 11, 12. Okay. And I read that kid's version of it. And so I started like getting the concept down. And
so your exposure was just through learning through books.
Yeah. My parents and just things. But again, like I didn't know if I was going to be successful still as a kid. Like I still felt like I was dumb. I was never going to make it. But that fueled me, right?
Sure.
I think you asking me that, I'm going back. And that was my fuel, dude. Like I couldn't give in. Like I was like, no, I'm not giving up on that. Like I'm not stupid. I'm a hard worker.
Right.
I hear Tom Brady all the time and I'm nowhere close, right? But like, I love when he says this because he's the GOAT, right?
Right.
I see interviews of him and when his body's like not in the greatest shape and interviewers come up to him like, hey, how do you think you'll do in the NFL? And he's like, I have a pretty good work ethic, so I think I'll figure it out. Dude, that's me, like totally.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I'm not the smartest, but I'll figure it out. Like I'll just grind until I figure it out. I may take a lot longer to get there, but I'll figure it out. So I think it came from that, man. Just as a kid, feeling like I was inferior to a lot of people and I had to step it up.
So kind of that negative emotion is what drove you through all that, having to prove something to somebody. And maybe prove it to yourself more than proving it to someone else.
Yeah.
Sure.
Dude, and that's a good point. Every level of pain that you go through can be flipped to a level of success. Like Ed Milet talks about that all the time. I see that in my life. Like, use it. Just use the pain
and that's
propel
fine.
You.
Yeah, I've had talks like that with people because I grew up, 3 older brothers, got picked on a lot, got beat up a lot. And I was always like, I was mad a lot, and when I got older, I used that. I mean, when I would get mad, that's when I would get aggressive and I would move forward. And it was more proving something to me that I could do it. And so we're on the same page with all of that.
Yeah.
Because I always thought like, dude, you might be smarter than me. You might have better parents than me, but I'm going to outwork you.
Right.
Yep. And so anyway, so you guys, you'd made your 6 figures the first year. Yep. You knew it was going, and then what?
The idea was always real estate, really, but that was the way to get us there because in real estate, it's really hard to get going. So I just needed to survive in real estate for like 2-3 years. And so I was doing it kind of the same time. I had my license that whole time I was moving, so I was just looking for any deal as I was moving. Like if they said, hey, we're about to sell our house, I'd be like, hey, use me, right? I'll let you have this move for free.
Yeah.
If you just use me, and it would work most of the time. And so that's just kind of what got me started. And then, like right around year 3, it just started blowing up. Like I was just like super busy, like selling people's houses. I then had a manager that would manage the moving stuff. We rolled a little bit more cash into our account and we're like, okay, we talked about storage. It's time. And this is a funny story. I used to play professional pickleball. And so a lot of people would hit me up to do pickleball lessons. And there's this one guy, he's in his 60s, and he's like, hey, I want to get better at pickleball, so can you come teach me? He's a wealthy older guy. I totally slept in. That's not how I am, but I slept in that day and forgot to go show up for his lesson. Show up like, I don't know, 20 minutes late. And I'm just feeling so stupid. Like, this is not me.
And you're like, I'm a world-class athlete. I get up when I get up.
Yeah. No, I just felt dumb. And when I showed up, I could tell he was a little bit like, who is this kid, But we had that lesson. We had one more. And on the second lesson, at the end, we started talking about wealth and his stuff and what I had going on. And he mentioned to me, I've always wanted to get into storage units. And I'm like, you know what, me too, but I'm so sick of saying that I want to get into it. I just need to do it. I literally left the courts that day and went out and looked for land that we could put storage units on, found the perfect piece, called the agent, said, can you meet us there today at 5? And he said, oh, I'm going on vacation with my family to Florida. Like, we're leaving later today, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, but I literally like need to meet you here. Can you make it work? I pushed him like 2 or 3 times and he finally like conceded and was like, yeah, I'll meet you here. I called the guy that I played pickleball with and I was like, hey, I need your financial backing on this. And with my money, maybe we can make this work. We met him that day, put an offer in like the next day. And then we're off and rolling, and we just started figuring out from there. Like, we didn't know, none of us had done a storage project, but it was like we just got the ball rolling, went under contract, delivered our earnest money, and then we just started doing the numbers. And we're like, the numbers are freaking fantastic.
Yeah,
this is like a no-brainer. We have to do this, and that's what started the whole thing.
Wow. So is
and
it you and him still?
Yeah, so it's me and him, and then we actually brought on another entity, which is 3 people. And the reason we did that is because they have the experience in the storage space.
Okay.
Those 3 people are part of a company called Easy Storage.
Okay.
And they do the software for over 1 million storage units in the United States. So they do the operations, the marketing, the accounting, like literally everything. They have the data that we need to know how we should build them and how many of this and how many of that. What fills up faster, what price to charge. And so it was a strategic partner to come in.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah.
We had Justin on, it'd be 2 podcasts ago, and they'd do Premier Pool and Spa.
Oh, yeah.
And that was his thing, was he was like, dude, we jumped in with Premier because like I've never built a pool. Like I knew I could figure it out, but I'd never done it. And so it was the same thing. They had all the marketing, they had all of the plans, they had everything there to just support. So, and I'm not that way. That was kind of opened up my mind to being like, and like with the Safe Store or whatever else I've done so far, I don't know how that would have helped me, but maybe in the future you find in some kind of strategic partnership with it instead of just trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
Save you a lot of time.
It's funny because we're like a year into this now, and today I feel like I could talk about storage all day long. Like I know a lot about storage now.
Yeah.
Like a ton for St. George. Right? I could tell you numbers. I could tell you this, that, how to do it, how to work through the city and how to get permits, how to, like the construction, who you need to hire, all that stuff, the logistics of it. But I didn't back then, right? It's just figuring it out as you go and building the team around you to get you there. Like, I feel like people all the time feel like that they need to be everything instead of just finding people that can help you get there too. It's about networking and collaboration and all of that.
That's been one of the cool things about the podcast is everyone I've met and the relationships I've gained because of just bringing people on. And like we've met before, but like Justin and I had never met. That was a contact Mallory had and brought him on. And I mean, I don't know, half the guests we've had, I'd never met before. Yeah. And I've sent texts out to multiple of them, for different reasons, just because they were on this.
Yeah.
And so yeah, the network side of it's awesome. Let's jump into with the housing market right now is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Right. As far as prices and people who would have never had equity in their house for any reason now have an extreme amount of equity.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to jump into maybe options of being able to use that equity to benefit you in investing or maybe upgrading your house or whatever. What are some options and some things that people can do, or do you know anyone that's doing that?
Tons of people
killed
doing it. Yeah. Well, and it's early enough to where killed it. Like,
sure,
we'll see, right?
Yeah, results.
But yeah, you're right. So there's a lot of equity built up in people's homes if they owned a home pre-COVID or right at the beginning of COVID. They're sitting on a couple $100,000 that's sitting in their house, right?
Yeah.
First, I would say, whatever you get into with money, you need to be 95% sure that you're going to make it work. It doesn't work where you just, let me pull out $100,000 out of my house and throw it in crypto. And I know nothing about crypto. Like, that's stupid.
Not smart.
And I don't care what ecosystem you're throwing that money into. Know a little bit about it. And maybe, this may be, it may seem like counterintuitive to what I was saying before, but about just getting into it, but that's not what I mean at all. Like, the things that I started, they were cheap. Like, getting into the furniture, it was zero, right?
gas. Yeah.
I made money. I figured out, and then I like learned like moving and like how to not scratch stuff and blah, 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 right? Like delivering furniture to people's house, right?
Yeah.
And I started the moving company, learned a little bit more. It's like, you don't have to go make the home run right away. Like it's been 5.5 years and now net worth over a couple $1 million for me. When I started out with no debt, like you don't have to hit the home run next month.
Right. With $100,000.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, so kind of going back to what we're talking about in the
But it also takes
equity.
time. Like people did
yeah.
emphasize that. Like that's 5 years. I mean, you've taken 5 years to get, and that's a short amount of time for most
blink
people.
of an eye.
Yeah. And so
looking forward, it seems like a long time, right?
Yeah.
5 years. Oh man.
Well, when you sat down and did your 5-year plan, that was way out there.
Oh, yeah.
Storage units was way out there.
Yeah. And now we're living it. It's
Yep.
crazy. Like I said, I pinch myself all the time. Like, holy cow. But yeah, for people that are in that position, maybe more importantly than just having the money there, right, is let's back up a little bit. Like
Sure.
This is to answer your question, but like I'm a big mindset guy, right? Personal development, like we have a mutual friend like Jefferson Rogers, right? I love Jefferson's stuff. He's probably the as far as person that I know and been to dinner with and talked to and hung out with. Yeah. He is the biggest believer in investing in yourself I've ever seen. That dude spends like hundreds of $1,000s a year on himself and his wife and their development and their kids. And he's a high earner. He's a high achiever. But he wasn't always.
Right.
He's just gotten to that point. So it probably started really small. But he's just gotten that, and now he's just pouring gasoline on the fire because he knows it works. Mm-hmm. So I guess my point, backing up, is invest in yourself. That's number one. You want to know what the second best investment is? Invest in people around you. That's the best asset you can ever have, right? Growing your network and yourself. Now all of a sudden you're sitting on a couple $100,000 worth of cash in your house. And then you can take that and then you already know what to do.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that's probably the best advice I give. I don't think everybody would give that same advice, but for me, it's like start now investing in yourself. So if you don't have any money, maybe take a little bit out of your house so you can go to masterminds. But maybe masterminds is just going to lunch with people.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't have to go jump in with Ed Milet and Andy Frisella. You can.
It's free on the podcast, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So start there, and then when you have that built up and you've found a niche, now you're ready, right? You have that money in your house. Go plug it in and go work like heck to go make that happen, right? 95% sure. That for me, it's always I want to be 95% sure that I'm going to make this work, and the 5% is just work like heck to get it.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's gonna work, but I'm gonna drive it. I'm just gonna bust my butt, right?
Yeah, when you were talking about there's struggles and there's things to go through to get there, I've always just talked about it as penciling in the losses. Like I know there's gonna be struggles. I know there's gonna be things I gotta fight through. There's gonna be bad days. There's gonna be mental health bad days. There's gonna be different things that are gonna hit you and you're not gonna be prepared for it. But if I've already penciled in that something's going to happen, I'm not prepared for that certain situation, but I'm prepared for something to happen.
Yeah.
And it doesn't break you.
Yeah.
And I think growing up in sports and trying to be perfect in sports growing up, you never did that. It was, I'm prepared for everything, playing third base and there's a runner on first and the ball comes your way. What are you doing with it? And that's how we grew up was you're preparing for that next play. So you're always prepared.
Yeah.
Well, when one thing happens, when you take that bad hop and the ball gets by you, well, now you're like broke because it's like, well, I had this play.
Yeah.
And, maybe your dad's getting after you on the dugout right there, but
yeah.
you know what I mean? And so, but business is not that way. Like things are going to happen. You're going to have problems with employees. I mean, right now you're going to have problems with the supply chains. Costs are through the roof on everything.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're building a house, you know that. And so my point is like, anything you do, whether it's business, whether it's just your normal job, whether it's building a house, there's going to be issues. And so my mindset's always been, so why not take that risk that can better me and get me further in life?
Yeah.
And that's what you're doing.
Everything's a risk.
Sure.
I listened to one guy. I can't even remember his name. I'll steal it from him. Getting married is a risk. Having kids is a risk. Stepping outside into your truck and driving your truck is a risk.
Yeah.
Everything's a risk. in society, though, we're told, don't put your money here, don't put your money there because it's a risk. And so we don't. And instead, it's go to school, get a piece of paper, and that's not risky. But you're $30,000 in debt. That's not risky, though, because you have this piece of paper. I can tell you hundreds of stories of people that are still working for $15 an hour with that piece of paper.
Right.
Because it's all about your mindset.
Yep.
It's all about your mind. Piece of paper, you were just good at plugging and chugging numbers, which is good. Like, there's value in being able to cram and be able to, because you're working hard. But you need to be able to change your mindset to where you think bigger.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and I mean, if going to college and getting a job off of what you're studying in college is what you want to do, great. And so I don't say that enough. I've had a couple people comment and be like, you guys are always putting down college. You're putting down, and I'm like, no, dude, if that's your route, great. Yeah. My wife went to college. She's got a master's degree and she loves her job. I mean, that's great.
Yeah.
But
absolutely,
but that's not me. No. I couldn't wait to be done with, and that's because it's not me. That's not how the podcast usually ends up going, the path it takes, right?
Derick, I got to tell you the story.
Sure.
So I'm sitting at a closing table with somebody. I'm going to say who it is. I'm sitting at the closing table, and they're about to buy an investment property. More of a second home. But, yeah. So they're buying a property. We're signing. The guy at the title company turns into my client, the buyer, and says, hey, so what do you do for work? Well, what he did for work was really stressful. Like, he'd been doing it for 5 years, and it's like handling complaints for a big company all day, every day. And I'm like, oh, that sounds like it's terrible. Yeah. And you want to know what came out of his mouth? It was, but 10 more years of this, and then I'll get my 401k, pension, whatever, like, I'll be set. And I literally just, like, rocked down in my chair. I was like, 10 more years, working, probably making maybe $60,000 to $80,000 a year. I look back at my last 5.5 years, and I'm like, that's how people think. I forget. People think, 10 more years of this, and then I can just coast.
Yeah.
I'm like, do you realize what you can do in 5 years?
Right.
Like, I've lived it. I know what you can do in 5 years, and I'm not the best out there. Like, I just work hard.
Right. Yeah.
And, like, get somebody that's a genius and, like, got a brain, just like a crazy brain. Like, imagine what they could do in 2.
Right.
10 years and I'll be fine. And then I'll get a salary, I'll get a pension or a 401k where it's maybe keeping me above $4,500 a month. Can you travel with that?
Yeah, no. Hopefully your house is paid off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're just scooting by the rest of your life, like not doing what you want to do. And I'm like, that's hell.
I agree.
That's totally hell. And so people that are listening to this right now, if you're stuck in a 9 to 5 and you're like, oh, I just got to get by for this amount of years because the world said that I need to do that, stop the madness. Just go take a risk.
Yeah. But some people are okay with that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I've got this one guy, and I always refer to him, and one of these days I'm going to slip and say his name, but I've got this one guy, and I love him. We're really good friends, great dude. 4 kids, I think maybe 1 or 2 of them are out of the house now, and that's he doesn't want a cell phone. He lives in a manufactured home. He makes, I don't know, 50, 60K a year. They drive old cars, but he loves it. He's great. He's happy. Yeah. And so I'm like, but that doesn't make me happy. That wouldn't make you happy.
No.
And so, like, if you're that guy, dude, I guess great. If you're truly happy doing that, and like what makes this dude happy is working his 8 hours.
Yeah.
And then he'll go on a hike and he's jacked.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, dude, good for you, I guess, man. But that ain't me. Like for my story is when I sat down, I worked for the post office. I had a contractor out with the post office for a while. I worked with Adam. And then I ended up, when I got married, I asked the postmaster, hey, is there any more work I can do here? Like, I need to start making some more money. And he brought me on as like a part-time clerk. Then I went to a carrier. Then I worked my way all the way up to a carrier, like a full-time carrier position. And so when you go in and being like a career, any government, but being a career post office employee is like coveted. No one ever gets there. If you get there, like you're saying, if you get there, you've made it. Yeah. When you retire, you'll be a millionaire, and they have all these things. It's like, oh, it's going to be so great for you.
Yeah.
And And I remember thinking like, okay, like I can do this, you know, this is what, like, yeah, I always wanted to do something on my own, but this will work. And then he said, congratulations, man, in 32 years, you can retire. And I was like, yeah, now, and I just looked at him straight in the face, and I'm still friends with this postmaster to today. I looked at him straight in the face and I was like, dude, I ain't gonna last 32 years. I said, my mindset won't, I would lose it. Like mentally, I would lose it.
Yeah.
And I think I lasted maybe 2 or 3 years, mainly because I started having a lot of back issues. And I was living on painkillers. So that's why I ended up quitting, and I went back to the contract route. And then doing that contract route brought in steady income. So I was making the most amount of money I could in the least amount of money at time, or least amount of time. And then I would go home for 8 hours and I would work holsters for 8 hours, whether that was building them in my basement, driving them around, meeting new customers, meeting gun shops. You know, I was like,
straight hustle.
Yeah. I'm like, get that 4 hours out with the mailer out, because it's just a 4-hour job. And then I was 8 hours.
And that's what it takes at the beginning.
Yeah.
Like, I remember how that felt. It was like, you're never not working on something. It gets better.
Yeah.
Right? Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
Like, it gets better.
Back then I was doing holsters like same day.
Yeah.
Like you called me, hey man, I need a holster. I would drive to your work and pick up because a lot of times I had to use the gun to actually mold them. And so I was like, I would drive to your work. I'd pick the gun up. I'd go straight home, bust out the holster in an hour, and I'd be back at your work, dropping it off.
Yeah.
And so, like, we don't do that now.
You know, it takes to grow though.
Yeah. We're like 10 days out now.
Yeah.
But yeah, and people that want to do this and think that being an entrepreneur is sexy, I just want to tell you, like, so you're in a 9 to 5 right now. Well, what are you doing from 5 to midnight? Because that's when we were growing businesses.
Oh yeah.
And so
with like no energy.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're just like,
like, I hope this works.
Yeah. I don't know how you got through it. My biggest thing was my wife was in school, going through bachelor's and master's. And so she would work all day. Mm-hmm. And then she would come home and she'd do homework all night. And so
she's up.
Yeah.
And you're just working. Yeah.
And so she's upstairs at that house. She was upstairs in her office. I was downstairs making holsters, and I would hear her start to like shut everything down upstairs. And so like, I would not go to bed before her.
Yeah.
You know, because I'm like, a huge respect thing my wife and I have always had was like, I couldn't do what she's doing. And she looks at me and she's like, I couldn't do what he's doing. Yeah. And so it's not a competitive type thing, but it's more of like, it was embarrassing to me to go to bed before her because she was working harder than me.
Yeah.
And then she saw the same exact thing back to me.
Yeah. You're pushing together.
Yeah.
Creating a future. Right. And I think that's so key, is like doing it with your spouse, right? Like, you're kind of,
you have to.
That. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to back up on one of the things you said that I really, really liked, right? You're like talking about that guy that's living in a trailer or whatever, a modular or something, dirt cheap.
Right. It's like a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom, like pre-built home thing. Yeah.
So like, not to that extreme, but my parents are kind of that way, right? Like, just very, very cheap. And they're going to listen to this, and I'm okay, because I love you guys. I love you, Mom and Dad. And they would laugh about that, right? Like, they're probably laughing right now listening to this. But their mindset is, you know, just stay really, really frugal, and they're happy. So I get that. At least they appear to be happy, and I believe that they're fine, right? I don't know why I'm different in that way. I think it goes back to fulfillment. But go with me on this idea. I heard once, and I really, really liked this. If you're the mindset that's, I'm just going to cut coupons, I'm going to be super frugal, cut corners, shop at the DI, and fix it myself, how much value are you creating for the world? Zero. One of the greatest principles I've learned is money follows value. You have value. Your holsters, your business, like you as a person, and the things that you've learned have value that you're giving to the world, right? And it will continue to grow as you grow. By just being I'm going to go extreme and say doomsdayer, hunkering down, you're only providing value for yourself. And I think that's maybe a little bit extreme to say you're selfish at that point. But at the same time, you need to kind of look at that and say, what kind of value, though, am I providing for the world? And there's other ways you can provide value, So I'm not saying that there's not. Mm-hmm. But by being an entrepreneur and getting out there and taking risks, taking chances, growing yourself, right? Your education, you're providing value to the world. And my mindset is like, how can I grow bigger? How can I get my influence out there more, right? Through social media or whatever. Like, how can I just reach more people? Because part of fulfillment for me is providing value to other people and watching them achieve something. So I think it's interesting. Yeah, you're right. Like, there's certain personality type that just does that. But I think some people do that because they just think that that's how they're going to survive, not because they want to. And it's just that mind shift of what value are you creating? You're not. So if you just focus on value creation of something that you can then sell to somebody, money will just follow.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And I've learned in the last couple of years, adding value, but also like really, really caring about the customer and really, really trying to drive that customer forward, or like in your shoes, like really trying to find that house that is perfect for these people or this person. And that's where we've doubled our income at the Safe Store just because we're trying to take care of people.
Yeah.
We're not trying to talk you into a safe you don't need, or, just different upsells. Like, that's not what we do. And so people that are, especially in the service business, if you're more just trying to solve a problem for someone and trying to help them, in my experience, that's been the highest multiplier in monetary terms, in money, than I've ever seen.
Yeah.
It's just trying to just do the right thing and take care of people.
Yeah, totally. That's security, man. That's long-term wealth, because the businesses that I've seen people in their 50s, 60s that have done that their whole life, take care of people, they're busier than, I mean, they got so much dang business, they don't know what to do with it.
So what's next?
That's a good question. Right? Because I'm at 5 years. I mean, I was just sitting in a mastermind the other night around a fire there was 4 of us, all high achievers, right? And I kind of brought that up. I'm like, to the group, I'm like, God, what's next? Because I'm telling them, like, I've kind of set my 5-year, and now I'm like, I'm excited that I'm here.
Yeah.
But it was the process that was fun, and now I'm like, I gotta get another process. So we're working on some stuff. Me and my wife are working on some stuff. I think next is expanding my voice and my presence on social media, getting that out there. I think that's super big. And then, but with that is a product. So e-commerce, something. And we have a few ideas, but we're trying to dial that in, and we're trying to actually go big, like national, maybe even world one day. But
awesome.
That's the next thing.
You're like, well, I'm not selling anything online yet. Let's go that route.
Yeah. You can scale it, and you can do it with your family.
Right.
Wife can be involved, kids, retired mom and dad. It's family business.
Yeah.
And it provides value to a lot of people. Job creation, like.
As far as working, do you and your wife get along well when you're working together? Because me and my wife don't. That's why I ask. Because we're both the boss, my wife and I. And I'm like, it's because of my grandma. I'm very, why are you doing it that way? This is the way you do it. And even though there's 4 ways to do it, and I know my way works, we got to do it my way.
Yeah.
Because I know that, I know the snags that are going to come up if we do it my way, because I've already done it that way. Yeah. But I've never done it your way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But I'm not about to try.
Yeah.
So that's how I am. And so my wife and I work together. We usually get like a few hours in, and then she's like, I can't handle you anymore. And I'm like, I get it. I'm kind of hard to work with.
Yeah.
You guys doesn't seem like you're that nervous about it.
No. At the beginning of our marriage, it wouldn't have worked. We went through marriage counseling, and I would have recommended it to everybody. And when I say marriage counseling, I don't have any negative. I want everybody to know that because it's so valuable in your relationship to be able to go through that. We're way closer today and better communicators because we went through counseling. I think everybody needs to do it. And I know people that have been married. I know people close to me that have been married for 30 years, 35 years that still suck. And their life sucks, I think.
Yeah.
They don't ever hang out. They don't go on date night. They don't do anything. They're like roommates. And I'm like, we just saw that and we're like, yeah, we don't want that.
Yeah.
So we saw us going down that path, and we're like, well, we got to fix it. And it was tough, like to swallow that pill. We need to go to counseling. I think a lot of people just see it as like, oh yeah, we have a problem.
Yeah.
But everybody has the problem, so just go do it.
It's just a pride thing, I guess.
But that's helped us a lot in being able to get to the point where we can communicate. So yeah, I totally get what you're saying. Like there's 4 different ways to get it done. But I think I've been able to let go as like the red personality, like driver, to be like, well, let's try it, and who cares? Like if it doesn't work, we learn something.
Right. Yeah,
You know?
I'm trying to let
fail
that
faster.
go.
You know,
Fail faster.
yeah. Thomas Edison, the big thing of, I just found 1,000 things that don't work. Right. Failed 1,000 times. I just learned. So.
Yeah, dude. Family business. I'm all about it.
Yeah.
Right now I've got my mom works with me. My brother just started working with me. So Adam and Jason owned 25 Main.
Yeah.
They sold that.
Right.
And then Jason
Everybody
just started
cried.
coming. Yeah. It was a lot bigger deal
No
than
more
Adam and
cupcakes.
Jason thought it was, I think. There was all these like messages they were getting, and there was a Facebook post
How
that was
could you do
blowing
this?
up. And yeah. Oh, I was engaged there, or we come down there every time we come to St. George, we go there, and all this stuff. But yeah, so Jason just started working for me doing those contract mailer outs that I now own. Adam will never work for me. He's a lot bigger than me. But yeah, I think but I've never even thought about siblings or my mom. It's always my kid.
Yeah.
Like that's something I always wanted. And my grandpa was an entrepreneur. My mom had her
Same.
always side gigs. My dad never did. I mean, he was UPS most of his life.
Yeah.
Just a, UPS delivery guy. And I like envied my friends that my friends' dads had businesses or had some type of thing that they could just step into.
Yeah.
And there were times I would be like, dude, you don't want to go do that with him? Or man, dude, that thing makes so much money. You don't want to go do that?
Yeah.
And I never understood it.
Yeah.
And so for me, I'm like, whether he chooses to or not, that's his choice in, 20 years. But I want that to be an option for him that he could step into it.
Yeah.
So
One of the things I love that you just said is you're going back to your past and you're saying like, you're finding reasons of why you're successful, right? But that's called perspective or perception, right? Or like, you're looking back.
yeah,
That's your perspective of what happened. That's already happened. So can you change your past? Absolutely. Change your perspective of the past. You can't change what happened, but you can change your outlook. So even if it was just a terrible, terrible whatever happened, right? You went to jail, got caught with illegal drugs, or you got a girl pregnant, or just something that's like big things that people talk about. I don't know.
yeah, name it. Yeah,
Yeah, you name it. Or maybe just something that's not even that big that you think is big. I have those. I change it, just the perspective on it, realize I'm human, change it into a positive, and then use it to fuel me. And I think we all can do that, right? I think sometimes that these, people that come and talk to you and me say, I want to be an entrepreneur, because I know you get them too.
Yeah.
DM your Instagram or Facebook, sending you messages. How do I get to where you're at, Derick? Well, a lot of them say, well, I can't because this happened in my past.
exactly.
Well, that happened, and you can't change that, right? And they think, well, I can't change it. It's set in stone. Well, not really, because you can just change your perception, your perspective on it, right?
Yeah. What's your view?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Let it fuel you.
Yeah. No, and I mean, I've definitely done that. So I love that you've said that, because I think, dude, we're a lot more similar than I think we knew we were.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're there, man. We're getting ready to wrap it up.
That was fast. Holy cow.
I know. We were both thinking about 11:45 and we're there. So
cool.
Dude, I do want to have you on again, because I want to have a little bit of a longer one now that we've kind of got your background and what you're doing. But I want you to come on and do some more real estate, and then building a business and scaling a business and being able to do that, and having the relationships to be able to do that. So
cool.
I want to bring you on again if you're open to it.
Yeah, for sure.
And we'll have a little longer now that we've got backstory out of the way.
Cool.
Okay,
Sounds
man.
good, man.
Appreciate you coming. Hey, guys, make sure you go like this episode if you liked it. Comment. I think Apple does like the ratings. I don't know what Apple does. There's like a star rating. I think you can 5-star it and leave a comment. We do clips every day. Follow the Instagram page, follow the TikTok page, and We'll bring you episode 45 next week. We're coming up on a year, so it's kind of cool.
Awesome.
All right, guys.